I want to get to our speaker. John Spinola and I have known each other for 11, 12 years, something like that.
Since before you started this one.
Yes. And I consider him a friend, super knowledgeable. He's been someone that, I've tapped into his brain to ask him questions, especially about things that I'm not familiar with, whether it be commercial investing or creative investing, which I know he's going to go into a little bit here. So he's spoken for our group before several times. Last time it was in a pinch, so I feel kind of bad because I called him like the morning before and I said, "Hey, John, can you speak? Our speaker fell out." And he was like, okay. So he's always really nice that way. This room is really difficult to hear in the back. So if we could just make sure that we speak loud enough so that they can hear.
If you can't hear me, raise your hand.
If you can't hear.
Or leave. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great room. It's just sometimes that sound barrier is there. So I'm going to get you all prepped. Do you want to come on up and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your expertise?
An expert is an X is a has-been, and a spurt is just a drip under pressure. So I don't know if I want to be an expert, but John Spinola, and I've been in Reno since '77. Had a real estate license in probably '72, I guess, in California before I moved here. Invested in real estate since then, since before I moved, actually. So, but I've gotten involved in real estate exchanges, and what this is about, and this is the first time I've done this, so if I stumble, I probably will. But to explain to people what the difference is, I told Ginger, it's the philosophy of exchanging. When you think about exchanging, most people think 1031 and we're doing a tax deferred exchange and that's it, but that's not what we do. I mean, we do regular exchanges, but it's the philosophy behind it. So I'm going to try and explain how we look at stuff different. Most people look at the property, got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that's making this much money. You're working on the property. We look at the people, because property doesn't have problems. People do. This building could care less whether the roof is leaking or not. Guy who owns it, very concerned about it. So we try and focus on the person and try and solve their problem. What's their motivation? What benefit do they offer? Or does the property offer? So I stole this presentation didn't steal it actually, but from the Society, I got outsmarted.
Society of Exchange Counselors?
Yes, but I was trying to move this thing.
2 fingers.
My 2 fingers aren't big enough, I guess. But, so, this is going to be tougher to do, but, so, real estate only has value in its relationship to a person. So, what it does for Ginger may not have any value to me. As an example, a vacant lot that needs a building on it, I'm not your guy. But to a developer, that's worth a lot more money. If that vacant lot or that building is next to my mother and I need to take care of my mother, it's going to be worth a lot more to me than it is to an investor. So it's not necessarily the value of the property, it's the benefit that a person can derive from owning that property or selling that property. So, and this just says like the difference between an acre of land in the Midwest on farming property and an acre of land downtown New York City. Okay, they're both an acre of land. It's where it is. I don't know which one of these I need to do here. I went and highlighted everything in this.
I'll help you, John.
Can you hear me in back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah, there's page 2. I think I'm there. But so, primary principle is that people only acquire, continue to own real estate, for those benefits.
Although,
It doesn't work. So there's 6 benefits. Can you get the next page? The first, cash flow, capital accumulation, which is basically the increase in value of the property. For personal use, you're going to use it for your business. You're going to live in it for a business operation. Tax savings, cost recovery is what it's called in some. You're doing some. I lost the name of it.
Cost segregation.
Cost segregation, which is basically you take all the stuff that's in the building when you first buy it, and you get somebody professional to come in and they say, okay, that electrical's gonna last 8 years, so we're gonna depreciate it over 8 years, not 35, if it's a commercial building. And that, the lights are only gonna last 10 years. And so you're turning all that into personal property, but it gives you a huge benefit if you're making a lot of money as deductions up front. So, a repository of wealth, or this one mentions timber or mineral reserves, hunting, that kind of thing. So that's one of the, how come my fingers don't?
I don't know.
So, benefits of ownership, it's defining people benefits. And people, again, we're back to what the value is to the people. So what the owner is owning that for, and people's motivation and what it has value to them changes, which is why some stuff ends up on the market, not because it's a bad property, but it doesn't fulfill what I was originally doing anymore. I've got, my son went to ASU. I bought a house down there, put him in it, rented out some rooms. When he graduated, I don't have a property manager, so I put it back on the market. So it had value while he was going to school, had less value when he was gone. So,
John, I think that's a really interesting point. Like I've seen properties come up for sale, and we'll have a number to buy that property at. Somebody else buys it for way more, and the temptation is that they're dumb, right? That you think they're just idiots for spending that much on the property, but it's really whatever their strategy is.
exactly.
Is going to benefit them better than paying a lower price. And if you figure out what that strategy is, you become a much better investor.
Well, we're back to benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really always cash that's the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So the benefit, exactly what you're saying, is the benefit to them. It has for whatever reason, has more value to them, that benefit does, than it did to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why owners, if you're bidding against somebody who's going to live in that property or put his business in the property, it's really tough to compete if you're an investor looking for a return. So it's worth more to that person who can use that property in general than it is to an investor. 3 categories. We there? Yeah, okay. That are people benefits. I need the space to operate my business. Negative. People had a big problem with this around 2008 through 10. I'm half vacant in my office building and I can't afford the mortgage. So, and that's another reason. It's not always positive reasons to get rid of stuff. Sometimes it's a negative or negative to that person. If I had someone to come into that building who I like to shop for commercial buildings with a user in my pocket. So if Mitch has a business that needs X amount of square feet, it's a lot easier to go and make offers on industrial property or whatever he's looking for, because I know I can fill it, which would make it worth more to me than somebody who's going out and looking at it and saying, well, how long is it going to take me to fill it? And put that into the price. Not based on fact, okay? We've all seen that. Somebody thinks that their uncle, brother, cousin said, you ought to invest in Reno. And so Reno's a big place, got different neighborhoods. Maybe you should, rather than just throw something out there, or I like pink houses or whatever it is. Some people buy that way. We called it, where I worked before, we called, there's 2 ways to look at property. Pride of ownership, which means I can take Christina by it and say, I own that. And then there's the pride of pocketbook. That's the one, the pencils. So they're not always the same. Some people like really high-end properties, very classy, may not make a lot of financial sense to somebody who's investing for return, but it strokes their ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can tell this is a very polished. I stole this from a member of the SEC, Society of Exchange Counselors. It doesn't turn pages here either.
Might be the same fingers.
But so we had the Society of Exchange Counselors is a nationwide exchange group. They have been around since I don't know, the 40s, 30s or 40s. Pretty exclusive group. They do meet 6 times a year, and basically most of them just make transactions within the group. So it's a pretty exclusive group, and they teach also. And this is from one of the teachers who is from probably the 70s or 80s. No, I take it back. This is 2011. But anyhow, so people benefits, stuff that you can add, that can add value to what you're trying to buy or what you're trying to sell. Okay? If I have management expertise, then buying a property that needs property management, I can probably get it at a discount because it needs property management, and I can fix the problem. Same thing if I had skills as a builder. If the building needs work, I can fix that. This is leasing contracts, construction, development expertise, cash resources. I can supply cash. I can get a loan. So in our exchange group, we call these can adds. In other words, I've got this property and I can add, if I need to, I can get a loan. I can add some cash. I can add whatever talents I've got. It makes my offer better. So, people benefits are directly related to the motivation to go out of title. So, benefit, if I want to go out of title, what will I do to go out of title? What can I add to go out of title? So in other words, if I can add cash, I've got a piece of land that isn't doing me any good. This was work for quite a while, probably still does. Nobody necessarily wants my land, but if I add an equal amount of cash to go into something that somebody else owns, or I'll give you my land, and if it's a $50,000 piece of land, I'll add $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 to that land to buy your property. Okay? Do you want the land? Absolutely not. Do you want the cash? So people will do it for the cash, even though they don't necessarily want that piece of property that you have or you're trying to exchange. So basically, and this is key again, people are looking for a different set of benefits than what they have now. Owner-manager of an apartment wants to retire and travel. So is there anything wrong with the apartments? No, I just need, my situation has changed. My benefits, I need to change those. Developer who rehabs stuff, whether it's, this one says apartment buildings, but even houses. Once you have it rehabbed, if you don't plan on keeping it, you need to roll into the next one. So. Taker-haver principle. So we look for takers, and we try and be takers ourselves, meaning that I will take your property under some kind of conditions or situations. So a haver is somebody who has a piece of property. So the advantage to being a taker for almost everything, which I usually am, there isn't anything I won't take under the right set of circumstances. So, but if you look at properties and say, okay, I'd like that property, I know I can't afford it, but what can I do to make that happen? Can I get other people? If it's a real good deal, can I raise some money? Can I add other things that they might take? So the taker-haver is the key to our business. Nobody wants cash. That's people say, well, what do you want? I want $200, $500, $1 million cash for my property. You don't want cash. In other words, if I gave you $1 million in cash, we're going to stack it right here, and I'll take your property, here's the cash, and by the way, I bought a bottle of champagne, we'll come back here in a year and we'll celebrate your cash, right here with the cash. You want the cash. It has no, if you can't use it, so the cash only has value, it's an intermediate step between where you are and where you're going. So one of the key questions that we always ask to potential sellers, if you got all cash, what would you do with it? See? And that will tell you about their motivation. Because they really don't want the cash. What do they want to do with it? I want to travel, I want a new car, I want to pay off all my credit card debt. Okay, if I can solve that problem without doing that cash in the middle stuff and get them to where they want to be, doesn't that do both of us some good? Maybe they just sent me a credit card that I can get 6% interest on, and I can borrow up to, I don't know, $50,000. And you've got $50,000 in high credit card debt, and that's the reason that you're selling the property. How about if I move your your dollar amount onto my credit card as part of the deal? Solves your credit card problem. Now we can deal with the difference. So it's just a different way of looking at solving problems. Every property that's for sale has a problem. I'm sorry, not the property, but the owner has a problem, whatever it is. Okay? I need to get away from it. My situation has changed. So if I can find out what they're trying to accomplish, then I can go and look at properties that would solve that, or I can make offers that are directly related to that. I brought a property in Arizona, exchanging to it. And we went back and forth on this single family home, and he kept coming back. I think I'd have been smarter than this. That was a while ago. With, he needed, I forgot, $100,000 cash. And so I did all kinds of creative ways, and finally I looked at it and said, you know, we've had 3 rounds back and forth, and he keeps coming back to that. How about if I change the terms of his carryback to offset that, and I'll go find $100,000 to deal went together. If I had just asked him, I probably could have got the answer. But find out what they're looking for. What are they trying to accomplish? What are you trying to accomplish? So, but nobody really wants cash. So people, it's a midpoint. It's like a holding area. I've turned this to cash, and now I got to do something with it, because I'm not going to leave it stacked here and wait for Mitch to come by and with that bottle of champagne, because it's going to be doing something else. So, questions? Anybody can pop up at any time.
Do you find that this is an interesting market in that Ginger earlier was asking whether we thought it was a buyer's market or a seller's market. We're not we don't do a lot of single family stuff. We haven't recently, primarily because to us it seems like there isn't much of a market, at least currently. Not a lot of action, not a lot of people who find themselves at least in an advantageous situation for us to be able to make a deal work. This is a long-winded way of asking, I guess. In a market more like this, how do you suss out some of the needs of, say, a seller who has a property but maybe unmotivated? They've got a low rate. They want to sell. We've got a handful of things on the market right now, but we're not going to sell at less than X. What would move the needle for someone who's unmotivated to sell but is currently selling? Does that make sense?
My question to you would be, as if you were the seller, would say, well, why are you selling?
Because everything's for sale. Because Mitch wants a money room.
Okay, and if Mitch got
like Scrooge McDuck,
and if Mitch got all this cash, what would you do with it?
you'd swim in it for 10 minutes and then want to buy something else. Like it's
And what do you think he would like to buy?
more property.
And what kind of property would he like to buy?
What kind of property do you want to buy?
See, but that's the process. If this exchanging relies on motivated people. If you got someone who says, I'm going to put it up at $1 million, it's only worth 500, and if somebody gives you $1 million, I'll take it.
It's not really for sale.
Yeah, it's not really for sale. So the object of the exercise is to find out what they're trying to accomplish. I want to help. The exchange philosophy is we're both going to win, and I don't take a listing and say, this is my fourplex, I'm not going to tell anybody about it, and I'm going to double end this deal because it's a really good deal, which seems to be the philosophy of a lot of single family people or small investment. We do, this is what Mitch wants. He wants to turn this into an industrial property, and I want to tell everybody about it. The smarter I can make you, the easier it is to do a transaction with you. So it's but to find somebody motivated, we just have an offer going on a property in Fallon from a wholesaler. Needs a lot of work, naturally, but the wholesaler tied it up for $150. We bought it for $280. Is that a deal? I don't know. Market's 7 something, 7 and 8. We figured it's another $150 to fix it. So, but where did that come from? Just putting out there that that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. So wholesalers, that's the first property I ever got from a wholesaler. But at any rate, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
That's great.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. That's one. All streaks start at 1. You know that? But so through our meetings, we don't write formal offers. We do 1 page. I call them what you takes. So it just said, I've got this. Would you take that? I'd like to own your property. Can we talk? And it takes me, but at the exchange meetings, you get about 5 minutes or less in front of the group. We got, the last meeting I went to was about 80 people from all over the country. We meet in Vegas 4 times a week, 4 times a year. And so I make a quick presentation, and people write just a short form, but it's just, if you have an idea, you write it down, you hand it to them. And it's a quick way to get a response, and I may get 5 or 6 or 7 offers, if you will, if you want to call them that. And if I could go to my client and say, would you consider this piece of land in Milpitas? Well, no, it just burned. Oh, okay. Would you like an office building in wherever? You can go and do 4 or 5 or 6 would you takes. Nothing formal, because none of them are binding. It's like a letter of intent. None of those are actually binding. So it's a way to get your properties out, and you're talking to like-minded people. So if you all want to know, and what I probably ought to do, can you?
You want to get to the other screen?
Yeah. I just,
That one?
no,
Or the other one?
other way. There you go. This is, this book is from the last meeting I went to. I don't know how many properties there are in the book. There's probably, I don't know, a couple of hundred from all over the country. But what you see that's different about this, the information I get here, is this is mine, which is not the best one, but tells you a little bit about the property, actually gross scheduled income, you making money, you're losing money. And once again, 2 fingers don't work. Will 4 work? Nope. Will 1 work?
There we go. It should work.
Okay, so it did it for you.
There you
Okay,
go.
cool. Okay, so it gives you gross scheduled income. It gives you basically a quick income and expense statement. Tells you about the loan. Benefits sought. What am I looking for? What am I trying to accomplish? Was I'm answering that question up front. So this one I'd like to combine with other properties to go up, other properties or cash or a loan to go into something bigger. So this was kind of a leftover from an exchange, and I ended up buying a property in Colorado. Go figure. So motivation, trying to consolidate things, get closer to Reno, simplify my life. Can add, this is a $60,000 commercial property in Wilcox, Arizona. And I can add a signature, so if the property can qualify, I probably can, and $100,000 cash. So just by reading this sheet, you got a lot of information. I've answered many of the questions that you would ask if I said to you, why do you want to sell? So, will this go sideways? 2 fingers don't go sideways. I want to,
You want to show the other screen?
the one that's next to it.
That one?
No.
Oh.
One more. No. Maybe it's
it's
oh,
down
there it is. Okay, just got to be smarter. This is a. I give up.
Oh, I'll help you. I'll just.
I brought mine. Said no, we'll use this one. So I guess me and Max don't get
Go
along.
down.
Okay, no, that's fine. $900,000 property. He's got 0 loans on it. Sale, lease back, buyback. Okay, anyone have a clue? Okay, I'm going to sell you the property at a discount. I'm going to lease it back from you for a guaranteed rate of return. So in this case, he's going to lease it back for 6%. And the value on the property is going to increase 2% a year at least. And these are all negotiable. So, and I'm going to triple net lease it back. So you're going to get a check for 6% of whatever final price we agree on. So, which is a great way to, rather than make a loan on this property, I now own it if I'm the buyer. So do I have to foreclose if I own it? No. Do I have to go through any court proceedings? Do I need permission from anybody? No. You quit making payments, I own the property. Kick you out. So it's a slick way to raise capital. It's very easy to get capital that you need. And for the lender, the loan to value ratio is incredible. So in this case, he will triple net lease it back for 2 to 10 years. You pick. How long do you want to own this thing? And this is kind of a would you take. In other words, we can negotiate this wherever we want to go. We can do this at any price between $750,000 and $900,000. I believe that the property value is $1 million. So, but if you're coming out of a 1031 exchange and you only need 750, I'll sell it to you for 750. But I will guarantee 6% on your 750, and I will buy it back at anywhere between 2 and 10 years with annual appreciation number. He's suggesting 2. I'd probably go a little higher than that, but so it's a real simple deal for someone who one needs an exchange or just wants to put their money into something that's very safe.
Sorry.
Isn't that amazing? This one didn't work either.
It's not a touch screen, so it's not as sophisticated as your computer.
So, what is he trying to accomplish? I'm seeking to sell the lease back and lease back the 5 residential units. I must have the option to repurchase them. I want to keep these and increase my basis in the property. If I sell them for $750, I've already depreciated them some, however long I've had them. If I buy them back for $800 or $820 or $850, whenever I exercise that option, my depreciation schedule starts over again. So now I've got a depreciation schedule of starts at $800 instead of maybe I bought this a while ago and maybe I only have $200,000 basis in it. So I've increased my basis, and I want to own them for the long term. So what kind of care do you think I'm going to take of them? I plan on getting these back. Can add. He's got more income property or triple net. Lots, lands, notes. What would you like? So he can add all that kind of stuff to it. And if you ask him, he will show you, here's the notes I got, here's the properties I have. Let's balance the equity. So, questions? This is kind of...
It's interesting.
I want to talk a little bit about the depreciation schedule with a 1031. Say you bought a property for $500,000 and over the course of 6 years you end up depreciating just shy of $100,000. After you 1031 into something for $750, would you still be able to depreciate that whole $750?
No.
Yeah.
You go in at your basis, whatever if you bought it at 5 and you depreciated at 100, your basis is now 400 for simplicity.
Right.
So your basis is now 400 in that, plus if you added cash to it or whatever, that goes on top of your basis.
So and then you 1031 from that property into something for $750. Would you then have $650,000 left to depreciate?
Whatever your basis is, which is why people, if they keep exchanging forward, you end up with a $5 million property with a basis of $300,000. So, as one of my former instructors said, he had a client who did that, got from single-family homes and finally got into shopping centers, always exchanging. He said, okay, time to cash out. He put the pencil to it and showed him where he was, what he was going to have to pay. And he said, man, I don't think I read that part of the book.
That's going to find a nice Delaware statutory trust afterwards.
Yeah, well, there's other ways you can do this, but basically, if you're just exchanging forward, at some point. So
does it say he's 1031ing out of it at all?
1031 out of
Is he doing like a 1031 out of this? Like for the sale?
He'll 1031 out of this.
Out of this. And so, James and I were talking, this guy takes a property that he has a minimal basis in.
200 grand.
200 grand or something.
Right.
He sells it. He doesn't pay back what he's already depreciated because he's 1031s into a different property.
Right, but it changes the
And
basis.
in 2 to 10 years, when he buys it back, now his basis is higher. He's going to get more deductions, reset everything, and he's going to not recapture again. Like as he sells out of or finances out of whatever he's buying.
Mhm. This guy moves a lot of paper, and he does.
But he's doing some pretty like high level kind of thinking about stuff.
Yeah, he went to Columbia and did nuclear whatever or something.
He's not he's not flipping houses for 20 grand. He's
No.
he's like leasing out properties and getting a tax deduction of like 700 grand in the process.
Well, I don't know about that, but what he says here is it's part of his own estate building. So when you build your estate, you take some properties and just hang on to them. That's going to go, they call it an A bag. This is my A bag property. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to put it in my A bag and I'm going to keep it, and 40 years from now, I'll probably still have it. In the meantime, I'm going to, sell it and lease it back with an option to buy it back. Because I don't ever want to sell this thing. And if I'm leasing it back, I've got total control of the property. So when the rents go up, I'm in charge of that. When it needs paint, I'm in charge of that. So it's a slick way to operate. So everyone got all that, right? Good.
Every second.
Yeah, every second. So this is kind of an advanced strategy, but I thought I'd throw this up here. So what are we doing for time?
Probably another like 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes. Okay, get me to my spreadsheet. This is, people talk about, does this work and is there a win-win in this? This is some of the transactions. I probably don't want to start with that one.
No? Which one do you want to start with? And I'll make it. Oops.
Go up.
Top one?
Yeah, that one's a creme de la creme.
Okay. Let me make it bigger. So you can see it.
Oh, okay, you can go back to the other one. We only got 5 minutes. Go to that
The one
first
below?
one. Yeah, this is one of the greatest.
That one?
No,
That one at the bottom.
one at the bottom.
Okay.
This is probably the greatest exchange that I ever saw. A guy named Jim Keller had Keller Realty in town forever, great exchanger. He had a client who had a house in Incline. At the time, you couldn't get loans, and the loan he had on it was real ugly. He was a pilot. He had a mortgage that was costing him $8,000 a month on it. He just had it, this is probably 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Couldn't sell it at the time. There wasn't any market. So he's making payments of $8,000 a month. And Jim went to an exchange meeting like this. And some guy there was a developer, had timeshares. And he had 53 left out of however many hundred he sold. And his problem was he couldn't he couldn't buy his next project while he was still on the homeowners association for 50 something units. So he needed to get rid of the 53 units. So Jim goes back to his guy who's got this house and he says, got a great exchange for you, 53 timeshare units. Guess what was on his list of things that he wanted? You think it was timeshare units? No. And the guy said, absolutely not. Why would I want that? Jim says, well, let me see. The annual dues or the monthly dues on your timeshares are $1,167 a month. Your value on your house, or what you're paying on your house, is $8,000 a month. What do you think? Oh, you know, that making more sense already. So they put the deal together. The homeowner ended up with $1,167 a month payments on 53 units, which Jim actually ended up selling one, or trading out one at a time or two at a time. The owner of the timeshares put a loan on the property that gave him 2 years worth of payments, basically. So everybody wants the trades the $8,000 a month for $1,162. The owner of the house traded out for smaller blocks into other properties. I'll give you the $100,000 cash and 2 units. Do you want 2 units? No. Do you want the 100? Yeah. Okay. Will you take the 2 units? Yeah. Okay. So, developer closed, was able to go into his next deal. It's a crazy. You look at it and you say, why would anyone take timeshares? Good financial reason. So that's the tricky one of all these here. So
This is the other one.
yeah, pick one. Go up one more. These are all the rest of these are transactions that I did, but they're all with explanations of how everybody won. I bought, got a seller carry on $750,000, $55,000 down, $695 owner carry, 5%, 30 years when interest rates were probably 8.5. Set up the loan so it was no balloon, assumable. So in other words, if somebody else wanted to buy it, Jim wanted to buy it from me, he could assume that loan. It's walkable, meaning I can move it from this property to another property, which would make this one free and clear so I could sell it as a free and clear property. So you can build all kinds of things to do it. We had, I'll be all right. Yeah, we ended up with a value of about $1 million on it. Tax consequence for them, benefits to the seller, pay as you go. They were carrying it back. If they sold it all for cash, they'd have a big tax hit. Do seller financing, you only pay on what you receive, part of its interest, part of its return of capital, and part of its capital gains. So they're getting higher interest than a CD at the time, secured property that they're very familiar with. They got a higher price than if they'd have sold for cash. Why would I pay them more? Seller financing, all the benefits to that. So that's it. We've had it. Way over my 5 minutes.